So the last two films I had made were both comedies, and I felt like with the Dandelion Cortex, I wanted to stray away from that. I'd already done two, and I felt like I was satisfied with them. I was like, okay, cool, let's try something else. And I've always been fascinated with the macabre, Alfred Hitchcock, especially in terms of filmmaking, literature, Albert Camus and Edgar Allan Poe, especially massive influences of mine, very big inspirations. And I felt like I wasn't pulling enough inspiration in my comedic filmmaking. So for the Dandelion Cortex, it felt really good to pull from all the people that inspired me, all the artists that inspired me, and the story, the theme of the Dandelion Cortex came from my fascination with psychology. I've always been really interested in how the mind works, and I wanted to make my own stance on the nature versus nurture debate. I wanted to kind of put my point of view, maybe give a different perspective to audiences out there, and I felt like the script that I wrote really satisfied that in me, and I was really excited to make it. So that's kind of where the my inspiration comes from. I had written a script back in 2015 of the same name, and me and my friends made a short film. And it was my first time making a film, and it was good. It was a fun time, but I wanted more, and I felt like in 2019 I had the equipment, the talent, and the crew, and the support, producing support to make it what I wanted, and so I'm really proud of how it came out. The biggest challenge, the biggest obstacle with the Dandelion Cortex, I'd say, was making the world believable. We got to our location, which was basically just an empty floor of a building, and we all came together and said, "Okay, this is our world. This is what we're going to deal with." And it went from a blank, just literally nothing in any of these rooms to being a different dimension. It was the afterlife, and it was something that I written on paper, and to see it come to life was incredible, and something that I think is such a unique aspect of filmmaking. And I think, from set dressers to visual effects, that whole spectrum, to make that work, to make this film work with what we had, is something that I will never forget, something that I will forever be grateful for. And, even, especially from a visual effects standpoint, Eden Ashkenazi doing visual effects, he absolutely killed it. It was something that I felt it was such a big thing to ask from him. Going into space, there was things he had to cut out. There was he had to make his art invisible, and that is something that, again, I think I will never forget, something that I've never experienced up until this point, and it was a very fun time working with him. So yeah, I definitely, making this world believable for audiences was the biggest obstacle for us, and I felt like we overcame it really well. The goal of the Dandelion Cortex is to not only reach film festivals, but to reach people. I want to reach out to people. I want to provide audiences with a different perspective, a different point of view. And the identifying characteristic of all of my favorite films is I'll be watching it and I'll think, wow, I've never thought of that before. And not only have I never thought of that before, I feel like I would have died not thinking about that ever. Like, I would have gone my entire life without this perspective that I could consider. We go our entire lives with our one, we all have our own perspective on things. And to share that is a beautiful thing. And I think filmmaking is the prime art form for that. And that's really why I am a filmmaker. There's no other reason than to just communicate with people and to share my brain with others. And my great grandfather, his name was John P. Fulton. He was a special effects pioneer back in the golden age of Hollywood. And when I learned about, my great grandfather, I said to myself, I got to continue this legacy. He had such a big influence, and I feel like I could have one too. And that's why I'm here today. And I'm just super excited to see where this film goes, and to communicate with my audiences, to see what people got from this film.